Listen, Dr. Strike the Sun, your two-time BookTube Federation champion, here with the coveted golden shawl, has come unstuck in time. This is my fourth time reading Slaughterhouse Five by Kurt Vonnegut. I've had a mixed experience with this story. The first time I read it, I did not understand it. The second time I read it, I fell in love with it. My third time reading it, however, I thought it was no good. And here we are now. The story follows Billy Pilgrim in a jumbled timeline of his life. It shows his experience through the bombing of Dresden, in which Americans and British bombed civilians during World War II, in hopes of bringing about an end to the war. That's not all. We also get glimpses into other stages of his life, such as the time he was held by the Tralfamadorians for observation. He's learned to observe his life as a whole, rather than in a linear fashion. The Tralfamadorians, these green plunger-looking creatures, see time all at once. They believe everything is predetermined because they can see the structures of their lives. They recognize that even though you're dead, you're not really gone. As an example, from the book itself, think of the Rocky Mountains. They can see the whole. Meanwhile, we humans can only see bits and pieces of it. That said, should you die, you're only in the past, you're not really gone. Because Billy Pilgrim has taken to this mindset, he's always acting out different scenes in his life, always with a sense of stage fright, as he doesn't know what's coming next. Even his family is aware of his time travel. The Tralfamadorians explain these moments like this. Why me? That is a very earthling question to ask, Mr. Pilgrim. Why you? Why us, for that matter? Why anything? Because this moment simply is. Have you ever seen bugs trapped in amber? Yes. Well, here we are, Mr. Pilgrim, trapped in the amber of this moment. There is no why. There is a kind of frame narrative used in retelling the story. The narrator is unnamed, but is clearly Kurt Vonnegut based on the clues given. He actually experienced the bombing of Dresden, and he is the one telling the story of Billy Pilgrim. The narrator compares himself to Lot's wife after God wrought destruction upon Sodom and Gomorrah. God commanded that no one look back, but in her own humanity, she did, and became a pillar of salt. After over 20 years, Kurt Vonnegut, this pillar of salt, finally wrote his war novel to deal with the pervasive memory of total war. And in that respect, this novel does deal with issues such as PTSD. Unexpectedly, without meaning to, being brought back to a traumatic period of time in a disorienting manner, unsure of what's going on, it's no wonder it took him so long to put it into words. And that's this book's strength. Although it suffers from some of Vonnegut's lesser qualities, and has reminders of far lesser novels in Mother Night and God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. I'm looking at you, Howard W. Campbell Jr. and Kilgore Trout. He treats this story with a sense of honesty that isn't found in his prior novels. This novel asks difficult questions about the nature of free will. Of all the planets studied, only Earthlings have the concept of free will. After all, among the things Billy Pilgrim could not change were the past, the present, and the future. Billy predicts his own death and laments the audience for not understanding him. What is the nature of free will? And do we have agency to control our future? Are we really gone after we die? This novel was published over 50 years ago, and here I am reading it for the fourth time. You tell me. Moreover, What makes an anti-war novel? In the opening chapter, the narrator discusses visiting his old war buddy and his wife. She considers cultural artifacts such as films and novels to be partially responsible for war. When discussing his work on the war novel, the conversation goes like this. You were just babies in the war, like the ones upstairs. You'll pretend you were men instead of babies, and you'll be played in the movies by Frank Sinatra and John Wayne or some of those other glamorous, war-loving, dirty old men. And war will look just wonderful, so we'll have a lot more of them. And they'll be fought by babies like the babies upstairs. One character suggests that an anti-war novel is an impossibility. So what does that make Slaughterhouse Five? What does it want to tell us about war? One possibility is, given it leans so heavily into the argument for determinism, war is an inevitability, as it always has been, and as always will be. Now, I would love to make a joke about how there's nothing intelligent to say about a massacre and equate this to Slaughterhouse Five, to pull a quote from the book itself and take a dig at Kurt Vonnegut. As you might know if you've been watching this series, I've been really struggling, really having a difficult time appreciating anything that Kurt Vonnegut has had to say. But given its fairly mature approach to such a difficult subject matter and the extended gestation period for putting this out, you might want to say that everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. In this case, old Kurt here was able to piece together a narrative that'll stand the test of time. Ugh. It kills me to say that. So it goes.